بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. أسأل الله تبارك وتعالى أن يجعل نياتنا خالصة لوجهه الكريم. Give me 1 second, inshallah. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Inshallah ta'ala, today and tomorrow we're going to talk about the methodology of acquiring Islamic knowledge. And I want you to have something that our scholars said in your mind all the time. They said, Fil i'ada ifada. Fil i'ada ifada means in repetition, there is a benefit. Please put that up. In repetition, there is a benefit. We need to master this concept. In repetition, there is a benefit. Two, they said that whoever learns a mas'ala, a religious ruling or judgment, and when they first hear that judgment, that religious ruling or knowledge, they are extremely enthusiastic about it. They feel good. They said if that person does not get that same feeling after hearing that case or that judgment 1,000 times, they're not a student of knowledge. So so each of us should love to hear these fawaid, these benefits, over and over and over again, till they become a part of us. Like I'm really, really enjoying the classes at night with Sheikh Yahya Baltamori and Sheikh Wadid Rifa'i. The session, the classes they're doing, those classes are so old for me, almost 30 years. And they feel like it's like just a refreshing, fresh water to hear it from them again. Because I haven't really heard them just straight in a long time. And these are issues that we teach regularly, but just to hear different people express them in different ways, and but the material is the same, it is refreshing and inspiring. And I wish that every one of us master these lessons, right? It would be a great help. If we spent more time reviewing and mastering and learning and repeating, there would be less quote unquote argumentation and more educating. I really, really believe that. What we consider argumentation, refutation, becomes necessary because enough people are not learned. If more people understood, and that comes from teaching them and repeating them and repeating the information, making sure that the person understands, then you would find that it's easy. Trust me, everything we're talking about is the normal, traditional way of learning Islam that has been like that way from the time of the Prophet ﷺ and to this day of ours. But because people have left religious education and learning, it sounds strange. It sounds strange. I was listening yesterday to the Mawlid, and these are my scattered thoughts. So uh, I'm going to talk about what I'm talking about, but in the form of mentioning all the things that make me think about these, because the reader, she's going to take a few days for her personal matters, so we'll have some time to review and to have some scattered thoughts. Uh, so I was listening to Sheikh Yahya Rodish yesterday. Every Thursday night, they have a Mawlid at Al Maqasid. So Sheikh Yahya was talking about students. One of the things he mentioned, uh, he was talking about students going to study and how the traditional way of learning is being replaced, or people are attempting to replace it with secular Islamic studies. That's my wording. He didn't use those words. He mentioned like people saying, I get a PhD from some university and now we don't need the tradition anymore. And I agree with him 100% in that our tradition is our tradition. The way Islamic knowledge is conveyed is not going to change. Even if people do other than that, it's not going to be something we'll ever respect or give value to. Our tradition is the way it is. And it's been that way since the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Our tradition is taking knowledge from trustworthy teachers with a continuous connection and chain back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's our way, right? With all that it contains, right? In terms of its the differences of opinions when the sacred law allows for differences of opinion, with consensus where the scholars deem that the Islamic texts necessitate a consensus upon, right? All that's a part of it. And then that which was accepted by the Ummah, right? That's important. That the nation of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has accepted this methodology, right? And that itself, that in and of itself is a protection, right? And we have a lot of work to do. I want to ask you a question. Be honest, especially those who have been following us for some time. Do y'all realize how much work we got to do, even among Muslims? I'm talking about in the learning process. Do you realize how much work we have to do just in the learning process among Muslims? I'm not talking about reaching non-Muslims. I'm talking about just among those who say we are Muslim, how much work we have to do. Because just fixing our methodology is a journey in and of itself. Because the enemies of Islam use multiple ways to misguide us. And they're very advanced in that, right? And sometimes religiously we believe, of course, that it's shaitan and that are enemies to Islam, from the belief. But in practice, I don't think we realize how real that is, right? Like, especially with the society, the world the way it is, that, they want us to have an Islam that's not Islam at all. That's clear to me. It's like extremely clear. It is clear that the push among the Muslims from shaitan through the non-Muslims, through innovators, is to have an Islam that is not Islam at all. The word is there, but the reality is absent. And we don't want that. We don't want that. And the only way we're going to prevent that is by learning properly. So, one of the things that we did with our 3453 code that we put up, and I want y'all, those who really support us, whenever you come on, make sure you put it at the end of your greeting as a constant reminder of our focus, right? but keep the meaning more than the numbers, right? Because that is our tradition, and it will keep you razor focused on our tradition. That 3453 code is our Islam, as our Islam summarized in numbers. And the first three is where the most concentration needs to be. That is in al-Islam and al-Iman and al-Ihsan, which is an expression of al-fiqh, al-aqidah, and al-tasawwuf, right? These are the foundations of our deen. The secondary sciences are only there so that we can live and practice those three, right? So every other science that we learn is to assist us and aid us to practice and implement those three sciences. So everything that we learn in the deen is to help us have a sound aqidah, a valid practice, and an excellent spiritual state. Could you write that? Every science that we learn, its objective is to assist us to have a sound aqidah, valid practice, al-fiqh, and an excellent spiritual state. That's the objective. Everything we learn in our Islamic studies, the objective of that thing, the end result should be a sound creed, a valid practice, and an excellent spiritual state. If we're learning something and it doesn't lead to that, then we've missed the objective of that thing we're learning. So really, in reality, all of the Islamic science are means to be good in the science of aqidah, al-fiqh, and al-tasawwuf. And the sciences of al-aqidah, al-fiqh, and al-tasawwuf should lead us to ma'rifah, which is the reality of the whole affair. And that is divine realization of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. And you know, so in the learning process, let's keep that. Our primary sciences that we must learn and master well are the sciences of al-aqidah, al-fiqh, and al-tasawwuf. These are the primary Islamic sciences. Every other science is a secondary science in relation to that, to those sciences, and those secondary sciences should lead us to embody and live those three sciences. And those three sciences should ultimately lead us to ma'rifah, to that divine realization. That's a map. So for instance, the meaning of divine realization can you explain the meaning of divine realization? So the word, that's a translation. The word is ma'rifa. Right. Let me see if I'll put it in Arabic. Where's my keyboard? Um, so that's the Arabic word. I'll keep that there. Right. So um, that means I wrote it in Arabic there. Here's the word right there. Yes, that's the root word of that. It's not an Arabic lesson, Khadija. But ma'rifa is realizing that this entire affair is about Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. That's it. If you got that, you have everything. Right? If you reach the level of al-ma'rifa, everything is easy. Everything in the religion is easy once you get there. But to get there is very difficult. Right? But once you got there, once you reach there, then everything else is easy. You know something? I'll share something funny. Like, we be working hard to study, right? We do. And poor students, but we do try, right? But we work hard, right? And when you meet someone who has the signs of ma'rifa on them, you realize, like, dang, we working this hard just to do that. But the answer is yes, because unless you work hard, you never reach that. But that realization is what it's all about. If you had ma'rifa, work would always be a joy. Going to work would always be a joy. Going to your business, whatever, your job would always be a joy if you had ma'rifa. Could anyone tell me why? So I made a statement. If the person reached the level of al-ma'rifa, divine realization, going to work, going to their business, whatever, would always be a joy. Bingo, right there. Once we get there, we'll look at everything with a deeper insight. We'll only be interested in things that elevate our ma'arifa. And there it is. That's it. Because at that stage, whatever you do is for Allah. Right? Once you have this type of realization, then it's now going to work, going to job is all ibadah, worship. And what is worship? It is the ultimate surrender and humbleness before Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Right? That's it. And at that point, even your knowledge don't mean anything to you. It's not about how much you know. It's about how much you realize. That's deep, right? At that point, even how much you know don't mean anything to you. It's how much you realize. But you do know, right? You do know, you have knowledge, but it's not about your knowledge. It's about realization. So your knowledge is for Allah, not for you. So at that point, everything is for Allah. So it's all equal. And value is only given to what Allah has given value to, not what you think is valuable, not what the creation think is valuable. So at every moment, wherever Allah puts you, that's the most valuable thing for you at that time. And you realize that. And to you, that's the ultimate worship at that moment. Some heavy stuff, right? And believe me, we're only parroting, but we did see people like that. And we would be amazed at their state, though we know nothing about it, but we see the traces of it. There was the sheikh in Lebanon. He was the sheikh of one of my teachers. And we used to go visit him, right? He lived on the side of a mountain on the road to Damascus. So he was outside of the city on the way, the same road that you would take to go to Damascus, Syria. So we would go visit the sheikh, right? And his life was like amazing to me, right? He had a small little house at the bottom of like the hill mountain. It was him and his wife. They had the most simple life. He had a little mattress, a small little heater that went up through the ceiling. She had some like wooden furnace she built, like stuff we used to make when we was a kids, like take wood and make little forts, right? And she would bake bread in there. And her skin was so had looked like traces from just all that smoke, and just she was older, but you could tell that working the land, right? Nicest people you would ever meet. They didn't have anything, right? And he had like a pigeon coop. He knew all the names of pigeons, would name the pigeon, they would come to him, like some stuff you just can't explain. Like, I remember when I first met him, he said, "This pigeon is you." He called the pigeon Amin. And no, I swear to you, he named the pigeon Amin. And whenever I would go visit him, he would call that pigeon by the name, and the pigeon would come. Like, and I'm talking about, it was a lot of pigeons, right? He would call that pigeon. I said, "SubhanAllah, this guy is special," right? Uh, so when he would talk, you wouldn't hear him quoting Quran and quoting Hadith, though he could, scholar, learn it. It would just be like the conversation would be Allah. That's it. I don't know another way to describe it. It was as if someone who lived the reality, wa huwa ma'akum aina ma kuntum. He's with you wherever you may be. And as if his state was saying, wa ana ma'ak ya Rab, and I am with you, O my Lord. That was like his state. He didn't say that, but the way he was, the state of him was saying that, like clearly. And around that, his area, you'll see these big old mansions, like people who went to Canada, some to Europe, some to the US. They come here, they make a bunch of money, and then they go build these big mega mansions, right, in this area in Bikar Valley. Like huge, huge. Um, um, right? Huge, huge mansions. So sometimes I would look and see from the way he was living and what was around, right? So one day, when we would leave, he would cry like constantly. Every time we would go visit, and then we leave, he start crying. Like, and like just the attachment, right? But I never heard him ask for anything. Not once. Like, I'm an American. The sheikh would come to the West. So usually people, they see you, they want money, right? Never. Not him. Never. Right? But he was obviously, in our minds, in my mind at least, like in a real poor state. I mean, he could use some, you know, some some extras. Not even a thought. And I mean that, like, you know how you could tell somebody want to say something, they don't want to say it? Not him. Just like, come and, yeah, Waladi, my son, get benefit. So one day I asked my teacher, I said, just like I was fascinated just by his state, just blew me away. And so I said to the sheikh, I said, why he never asked for anything? And the sheikh had known him for years. So I was like, why he's never like, he could at least ask you, even if he don't ask me, he said, he's from the people of contentment. That's a maqam, that's a station. May Allah grant us a drop of it. He said, some people, because he was pointing to those mansions, he said, some people, if they have all of that, they are not satisfied. They need more. He said, then others, if they lived in a cardboard box, as long as Allah is pleased with them, they are happy. He's from those. Subhanallah. He said, some people, if they lived in a cardboard box, as so long as Allah is pleased with them, they are happy. And he's from them. I said, subhanallah. And you can see that state, you know? And that was the state of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of the Sahaba, of the followers and the followers, as-Salaf. That was their state. That was their state. In fact, before the term as-Sufiya became widespread to describe those people, they were called as-Zuhad. As-Zuhad. Those people who renounced the dunya for a state with Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. That's what they were called. Right? And this goes beyond talk, because alhamdulillah, we've seen it in our teachers. We've seen it in our teachers. And they're rare. These people are not like abundantly available. They're very rare. Many are those who talk about their state, but very rare will you find people who possess that state. Many people talk about it. We all Sufis in our minds, right? Right? We are more of the speech part of it, which is the state. I mean, alhamdulillah, at least we're talking about it, right? But to actually live that state, become that state, you need ma'arifah. You need to realize that the whole entire affair is about Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. And those people who reach that, they're the most obedient to Allah in terms of following the sacred law, right? And what you will notice for them is that they are the most strict toward on themselves and the easiest on others. For themselves, they're rigid. For the others, they're soft and light, because they're looking from their state. Their state necessitates a certain concept in terms of how they go about things, that state, right? So for us, when we talk about those sciences, we should not forget where they lead, where they lead. And at the end of the day, we want in steps for us to arrive there, right? And in the striving, you're going to see the traces of arrival in striving, right? So the journey is, and that's where we should look at ourselves, right? Even if we talk about levels where we need to be, that we may not at this stage be there. But so long as we're striving on that road, we're going to see the traces of them, right? we're going to see the traces. So I was thinking about the importance of us establishing uh, establishing this tradition well, so that the system is in place that leads to that state, right? And each of us at our stage and at our levels, right? Not everyone is going to be the same. But to lay the foundation for that, we have some guests coming on the Black Imams Roundtable. That we're going to have this discussion. It's interesting because there is a line that is very, subhanAllah, how do I say it? There's a line that you have to be careful not to cross between dealing with reality and being respectful. Like, there's a line there. And I think about that line a lot, especially when I think in terms of our elders who preceded us, right? So yes, you have to be honest. Yes, you have to fix things, but you always have to be respectful, right? So, that's a fine line there, Uh, so it takes two ends. It takes the side of giving credit where credit is due, and then the other side, realizing we still have things we need to do that we haven't done. I think that's important. That is that's a challenge there, you know. And I think sometimes if you don't walk that line well, your whole intent can be missed. Like, we have a lot of elders here, for instance, right? And may Allah bless you, because you're doing something that is unique and special. May Allah honor you. May Allah elevate your status. That some of us been Muslim for 40 years, right? 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, right? And been active in Islam for those years. But we're discovering that despite that, there are many things we missed. And then it takes a level of humbleness to now go seek what you missed, right? Without feeling, without feeling that your striving wasn't rewardable. I want to give you an answer to that. Sheikh told me something. I want to share this with you. But let me finish this point. So that takes a level of sincerity and honesty, right? And then effort, because you still got to pick up what you missed, right? So you do that. So may Allah reward you in that. Now, the one who's conveying to you has to be careful not to aid in the challenge of doing that, make it harder by not recognizing the steps you have already made. You follow what I mean? Are y'all with me? So you can't be like, you have done nothing. No, you've done something, but you just have more to do. No one is saying you did nothing. You did a lot, but there's more to do. And what you have done is not all that needs to be done. That spirit has to always be there while we develop. Do you follow what I mean? And it can be difficult. And especially in our African American dominated communities, you need to be real careful with that, because they actually did a lot of work in context. They did a lot. And a lot of that work facilitated, now I go further than that. Most of that work facilitated for us now to be able to even have this conversation. And we can't forget that, right? Most of that work facilitated our ability to even have this conversation, right? Because if they didn't do their work, we would be doing their work instead of what we're talking about. But because they did that part, we're able to not have to do that and to now go to the next level. So that is their effort that can never be forgotten, right? You ever, I don't know, you watch the military. When we see a war, the war has already been fought before we see it. Somebody was already on the ground doing the hard fighting and planning, and all that was already done. By the time we see the actual troops coming and all that, somebody was already on the ground doing the work. You just don't know it, right? Special forces was already there. Intelligence was already there. And now the other ones is just coming to clean up or complete the mission, but it had already started. You can look at those who preceded us like that. They didn't do everything, and there's a lot more to do, but they laid the foundations for the other ones to come do the work. But if it was just left to what they did, it would never be complete. So look at it that way when we're talking. You know, so we're in that mode, right? We're in that mode. And I honestly, and Muawiyah is here, Sheikh Muawiyah. Everyone say wa alaikum salam to our Maulana. Maulana, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh wa maghfiratuh. I tell him all the time, right? You can't be like us. You have to be better, right? Yeah, you can have respect for us. Yeah, you can love us. Yeah, you can call us whatever you want. But, bro, you got to go to the next level. Don't come back here doing what we're doing. Please. You've defeated the whole purpose if you do that. I tell them that all the time. Because we have to actually see these levels, right? We have to see these levels and they have to become realities among us, right? Uh, we do, seriously. Somebody like him and similar, don't come telling me what your sheikh was. Tell me what you've become. That's the standard for our next generation. For us, we still talking about our sheikhs, which is a good thing. We're always going to honor, right? But we haven't become like them, so it defeats the whole purpose. The next generation, they should become like their sheikhs or better. Do you see my point? They should have embodied the whole meaning of their teachers and some. But if we lower the bar, they will come and do what we're doing. And that's a waste of all the time. For our students to return and do what we're already doing. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. You're going to come after years of studying and do the same thing I'm doing right now. That doesn't make sense. Do y'all understand what I mean by that? That doesn't make sense. What you went for? You could have just stayed here and did that with me, and we could do the same thing. Just waste of time. If we're not going to another level. So here's where I want you to think about in the learning process, right? Each generation has to push the next generation to excellence. Let's put that up. Each generation has to push the next generation to excellence. I'm going to give us a series of things to put. So let's take the first one. Each generation must push the next generation to excellence. This is what I've seen from my own teachers. I'm going to show you something. Could everyone put that up? Each generation has to push the next generation to excellence. That's a rule. let's flood the comments with that and make it like our thing, which entails two things. In order to do that, the present generation must understand that we haven't reached excellence and accept that. In order to do it, the present generation, which is us, must accept we haven't reached excellence. We must accept that. And not make our level the standard, because it's not. Once we accept that, then we do realize that there is more to achieve. And even if we can't do it, we have to push the next generation to that level, which means we have to know where we're at, know what is missing, and then instill in the coming generation the aspirations to acquire that, right? So hence, with this analogy that I'm giving you, now you know why I don't accept us calling ourselves scholars. Because if scholar in our psyche is a level of excellence and we think we're scholars, then we're not going to push for the next level because we think we already arrived, which is delusion, right? So it's not about putting us down. It's about accepting reality in relation to us striving for excellence, right? If we do that, we're going to find that our methodology of inquiring knowledge will improve, and so will be the status of knowledge. And then from that status of knowledge, we'll reach the level to where people will be striving for realization. They will. They'll be striving for realization after a time. They will do it by the natural flow of striving towards excellence. With this mindset, the succeeding generations will have a bar that they have to achieve. So I should see in myself, I don't accept that, like, our brother Muawiyah would still come back and learn from me, not be mentored by me. There's a difference. I should be learning from him and he should be mentored by me. So I have a role, but if my role is still his teacher, then we failed. I should be his mentor, not his teacher, because we should have instilled in him the knowledge that he needed to learn that we couldn't learn, and he should have acquired that. So we would be learning from him while mentoring him at the same time. Do y'all follow my point? But if he comes back after 10 years of studying and he's still sitting in Imam Amin's classes learning, we got a problem. It shouldn't happen. He should be mentored. He's still going to need that, but not learning the religious knowledge. He should have acquired that in his study to a level that we didn't acquire. Do y'all follow my point? The mentoring process he's going to need, that's experience. But the actual knowledge he should have. Yeah, Muawiyah, I'm stacking the what they call it? Stacking the how they say that? No, when you say he's stacking the odds against you or something like that, right? Yeah, I'm putting it on you. You're not coming back here, half baked. Everybody in the world know you now. You're famous. Now I say, I'm gonna make you famous. So you gotta get it. You gotta get it. And there's no reason why you shouldn't get it. So you better move on them lines, bro. Like you lagging. But no, I wish I would have had someone to give me these advices when I was his age. I didn't have it. Alhamdulillah. And none of us did, because that's why we where we at. But we are not there until now we can give the next generation advices that no one could give us because they didn't have it. You know, there's a saying in Arabic, "Faqidu shay' la yu'ti." The one who doesn't have a thing cannot give it. So we accept. The ones that preceded us didn't have it. They couldn't give it to us. But we do have something to give to the next generation. They gave us what they had. Now we should give the next generation what we have. Right? Do you follow my point? So tomorrow, we're going to talk about what that looks like in terms of actual study. I'm going to give you a roadmap, even though we ain't there. But I want us to know what it looks like so that we can conceive it in our minds, right? I want us to see what we're trying to do, just in terms of the learning process first, because that's one side of it. I was talking to someone about this, because there are multiple levels to this. If we're asking of our youth, the succeeding generation or the coming generation, to do something, while they're doing that, we must be doing something too, to facilitate for them when they come back. Because they're coming back into a real world. And if we don't do our part, then we're going to defeat all of their efforts by the nature of the real world. In other words, we have to build for them when they come back. Or else they're going to get swallowed by the reality of the world we live in. In other words, if we don't provide institutions, employment, entrepreneurship that allows them to do what they went to study for, it's going to defeat the whole purpose. So if they got to come back and then got to worry about how they're going to survive and take care of their family, we failed them. We didn't do our part. If we don't build institutions and businesses so that we can facilitate them to live teaching the next generation, we have failed. It's not their fault. So we can't just send them to study without doing our part. We have to do our part. We have to actually build something so that they can be a piece of the puzzle in the whole thing. Everybody has a responsibility. No one is free from responsibility as a nation and building what we need. No one is free. Everyone has a part. The key element is everyone learning where they fit in and not putting yourself where you don't belong. Where do I fit in? What is my role? And let me be excellent in fulfilling that role. I'll stop here, and tomorrow we're going to go a little bit deeper Uh, uh, but these things, keep in your mind, they're very important because we're doing aspects, but I'm really, really thinking about we need to have this. It is written, but we need to put it in a way where we all can articulate it and see it in a general way. And I don't think that has been done. I think we're still trying to figure out what is obvious, but it's not obvious to us. It's obvious, but we just don't know it. So we have to put it in a way that all of us understand. Are there any questions before we close out? It's Friday. And inshallah, we're getting all ready for Jumu'ah. Tomorrow, man, I almost forgot. Tomorrow, we will be the Black Imams, and Sheikh Yahya is going to be there too. So all of those who wanted to hear and sit live with Sheikh Yahya Baltimore, he's going to be with us too. Now, where is it? Okay, we're going to be with our brothers in Philadelphia, Al Hanifiya Haven at 263 South 63rd, 60th Street. I'm sorry. Philadelphia, PA. 19139. Uh, it's a banquet hall, and it's from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. So tomorrow's the Philadelphia gathering. That's the address. So write it down. I'll put it up so you can write it down. It is a banquet hall, but it's above a daycare. And I think it's on the corner. Someone told me that the name is confusing. So I just put the address, and brothers will be out there on security. So if you come, there's the address. You'll see brothers out there on security. So you can't miss it because there will be people on security and you'll see the brothers outside. But that's the address. So all the Black Imams will be there. Imam Naeem, inshallah, Imam Fahim, Sheikh Yahya al-Baltimori will be there as well as myself. And all of us will be teaching. So we pray that all of you who can attend will attend. So it's right down the street from Masjid Mujahideen on 60th Street. So like for someone who wants to know the area, if you go to where Masjid Mujahideen is, it's right down the street. I forget the name on the building. They said it's confusion. I don't know. They didn't give me. It's a banquet hall, but it's on top of daycare. But if you want a landmark, just Masjid Mujahideen on 60th Street. It's well known in Philadelphia, Masjid Mujahideen on 60th Street. It's right down the street. And our brothers from Masjid Mujahideen most likely will attend, inshallah. So, is there any questions? Please feel free to ask whatever you have. All right, let me go up. First question. What are the secondary science you spoke of? Everything other than those three. Everything than the science of Aqidah, the science of fiqh, the science of Tasawwuf, every other science in relation is a secondary science. So the science of Arabic, the science of Hadith, the science of Quran, the science of Usul al-Fiqh, the science of Sirah, all of those, because all of those sciences, once you learn them, you're supposed to do one of those three. So through the Quran and Hadith, you're going to learn how to believe, how to practice, how to be spiritual, how to do spirituality. Through Arabic language, you're going to learn so you can learn the terms that is necessary to read the Quran and the Sunnah and the Hadith and the books of fiqh. You need Arabic language. So all of that is to aid you to do that. That's what it's meant. So all the other sciences. So, for instance, if you learn Arabic and you have a bad creed, it doesn't help you any. You didn't use it for its purpose because the Arabic is supposed to help you learn the proper belief and do the practice things. So, if you learn Arabic and you don't believe correctly and you practice the deen in an invalid manner, then your Arabic didn't help you. It's like you learned something and didn't reach the objective of learning. So that's why I say it's not a primary science, secondary science. Everyone has a part, you said. How do you identify your part? What are you good at? And how does that benefit the ummah? That's how you identify your part. What are you good at? And how is what you're good at a benefit to the ummah or to what we're doing? Now, you may not know how it is a benefit, you just might know what you're good at. Then you should talk to someone who's involved in that to show you where what you're good at can be used for the benefit. That's how you do that. So for me, I'll give you an example. One of the things I'm good at that I believe, I'm good at inspiring people through what I do. So I need to perfect that skill set. My energy has the ability to motivate people. I do realize that. And I have the ability to articulate in an inspiring manner that which I'm convinced about. And it has an effect on others. So I can use that for good, or you can use it for bad, right? I choose to use it for good, right? Right? I choose to use it for good, right? And I've had that talent since I was a kid, right? So that's what I try to use to spread the knowledge. I honestly don't believe, unlike some may think, I know I'm not qualified. I know I'm not qualified, but I do know how to use what I have. I'm not the standard. I'm nowhere near qualified for what we need, right? But I do realize my role, and I try to be as effective as possible, right? With what I have. And I know what we need. I wish that you help me share freely, really daily, what I have to offer. We'll get it. I just can't do so much. I'm only one person. I only have so many resources. So I have to work according to my resources, right? But if I was funded, like, don't worry about here, this is an expense for you to go do da'wah. Man, I know with no doubt in my mind, with the permission of Allah, we'd shake this thing up, right? But until that becomes a reality, we only can do to the extent of our financial ability. And so we do what we do, right? But if it was up to me, man, we'd be knocking it in the head all day, every day, for hours. But that takes other matters being taken care of that I have to take care of, right? But when we understand as a big picture, we will be at it every day. So like when I say like Muawiyah, don't even, he be here asks, for instance, I got to find out how I'm going to live. What do you mean you're going to find out how you got to live? We're going to do that. That's how we should be. Your job ain't to go find a living. Your job is to teach, to go educate people. That's your job. That's your job. We still talking about, man, they better go find a job. That is his job, right? That's his job. His job is to teach. That's a full-time job if we understand what we're doing. There's some people that need to be dedicated to traveling around the country, and they need to be supported to go teach people. That's a job. That's a complete, how they say, that's a whole job. That's a whole job. Somebody got to be dedicated to do that, and somebody got to support them to do that. Hence, that's why we need infrastructure, businesses to support the da'wah. But somebody got to actually do the da'wah deliberately and build and find those potential students that are all around the country that's going to become those sheikhs and scholars that we need. That's groundwork. Some people have potential and don't even know it until they're put in front of that teacher who recognizes that talent and then facilitates the growth of that talent. Don't you know, if we look in the music, let me, because some of y'all, Abdul Wali, you know what I'm talking about. There are producers who just go around the country looking for talent. They in the hood, they in the worst parts of the ghetto searching for talent. And then once they find that talent, they fund them. They support them. And next thing you know, this dude's a big superstar. That's for bad stuff. What about the same concept for good? Right? They got so many rappers that are out there making millions that we don't even know. The kids know them, but we don't. I was watching this guy yesterday. You can go if you need to go. I'm just emphasizing some point I made. Yesterday, I was watching on the YouTube, this white guy, I don't know who he is. I don't know nothing about him. He has a show called No Jumper. It's like a podcast. And he's finding the craziest people on the planet in our neighborhoods. But at first I just thought he was just picking anybody. Nah, these actual guys are rappers and entertainers, right? Who are getting money. But if you listen to him, you'll be like, what the heck? Like, he like a culture vulture, that's what they call it to me. But I really don't know the guy, so maybe I shouldn't say that. But This white guy going to get the most dangerous rappers and Crips and Bloods and gangsters, and he got him on. So I know he's paying them, right? And they're talented young individuals, right? But they still caught in between street culture, gang culture, and actually success. So it's a struggle. And he's exploiting that stuff. They got another guy like that. His name Vlad TV or whatever that is. These guys, they go around our neighborhoods looking for talent, and then they using it to get rich. Why don't we go do the same thing for a positive thing for become learned people in the deen? They take money to do that, and they go, it's dangerous. Maybe someone would rob them, but they see their objective more than the danger in it. Why don't we do the same thing for the right stuff, though? So that kid, but yeah, see, I don't know the people. That's why I'm saying, Anthony, I don't know these guys. I mean, I'm old head. I just be scrolling, and I'm I see what's happening. So I realize that we got to pay attention, because our youth are listening to that. They ain't listening to us, right? They're fascinated by that stuff. You know, I was listening to a guy that on there yesterday. What's his name? See, I listened to him all day and forgot his name that quick. SubhanAllah. Dude is wild too. I forgot his name. I forget his name. Anyway, he must be famous. But he want to do good. But he grew up in the Crip culture out in LA. And, you know, he was on Skid Row feeding people. He a good dude, but he in that culture. And he's going on those TVs, telling all his Crip stories, getting paid and going back and helping in the hood, which is a good thing. What if we can get him to also learn Islam? And while he's doing all that other stuff, go take Islam in the hood too. What's this guy's name? Let me see. Hold on. Dang, I forget his name. I don't know. You young guys know. He's from the 55th Street Crips. He got a big number 5 on the side of his face, and then he had his hair cut. He got a 5. He's all tatted up. He's a young kid too. He's not even 30 years old yet. Come on, let me see what y'all watching. Stop. He got a big old 5 on the side of his face. And then he got a 5 in his head. Kind of little, what's his name? I don't know. I forget. But he must be doing some rapping too. Uh, anyway, that's not important. But what is important is that Yeah, Crip Mac. That's his name. Yeah, that's his name. Yeah, yeah, that's his name. Crip Mac. Right? Yeah, that's his name. That show he did got 1.7 million views. That means somebody's looking, right? And they brought him on more in time. So let's give you an example. What can be done? Imagine him teaching Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Imagine him with Al Aqidat al Sahiha, the correct belief. Imagine him teaching Al Fiqh, coming from that life. Imagine that. Tasawwuf. Imagine that one. Sometimes that ain't even, sometimes we don't even think about that stuff. But imagine this dude was Sunni, Ahl Sunnah. MashaAllah. What about him? He's going to have a major impact on people, on a lot of the youth. Do we ever think about going to reach them? Because people following him, they like it. And many other guys like that. What about the da'wah to them? Who's going to do that? Us! You think the CD culture is going to go do that? No. They're afraid of them. They're afraid of them. They're not doing that. Right? And they can't do it without our assistance. So you look at a guy, and I'm just sharing the truth. You look at this guy, Whack 100, Suge Knight, them same dudes, street guys, they went to the people in the industry, said, listen, we got some people, you gonna tighten us up. We ain't rappers, we ain't none of that. But we gonna get paid. We gonna let you get into them. They gonna get paid. They doing that stuff. Just imagine if we had the same concept with a da'wah for Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Just imagine we had the same concept. Because them guys really don't have access to them young boys. It's through somebody else, right? You follow? So we have a lot of work. And because we can't detach ourselves from the realities that we live in. We live in these realities, you know? So it's a big picture, I'm saying. All right. I said all that to say there's a big picture, and this ain't going to be solved overnight. It's a lot of work to do. Everybody has a role in this, right? Yeah. I mean, it's all a part of it, though. It's not just one aspect. That's why I said it's multiple aspects. So where you might not be the sheikh teaching, you may be the one connecting the teacher to those youth that need to be held. And you're the bridge between them because of what you do, right? Right? And that's how I look even. I was a bridge and still am a bridge for our people to reach certain sheikhs. If it wasn't through me, they would have no access because the people in the suburbs would keep the sheikh for themselves. They wouldn't share them with us. And they don't. If I don't intercede, we don't get to sit with the sheikh. The rich will take them to their communities to stay with them, and we will be blocked out. I know that. So I deliberately intercede. Nope. Sheikh's coming with the blacks. Sheikh's going to sit with the community. The sheikh don't mind, but he don't know. He don't even know that that community really needs to be served. If I don't intercede, forget about it. And we got to be like that with all of our resources are not going to reach us if you don't intercede. You got money, you have the ability to bring money, you have to do your part. Maybe I don't have that ability, you do. We need resources, intercede. You can reach artists, you can reach someone who I can't reach. Go reach them and explain them the importance of what we're doing. Even if they can't do it, maybe they can support. Maybe they can give access to things we need in advertisement, in media, in learning the skill set about media and advertising and marketing that we don't know. You have a role. Everybody has a role. Instead of the false narrative, everybody's going to be a sheikh. Everybody's not going to be a sheikh. And not everybody needs to know a certain level of knowledge so they can understand the importance of their role in spreading the knowledge. But people are going to be different. Everybody's not the same. And that's fine. Just let us all have a certain amount of knowledge. That's important. Okay, that's my spiel for today. Is it correct for people, and some do, to say that Imam was a... I wouldn't have a problem with that, because the scholars, they said sometimes the reviver is more than one in different times in different places, right? So, and that could be relative. So I wouldn't have necessarily to say, that's a problematic. I don't think that's problematic. I mean, personally, because didn't he revive? People before him was in a nation talking about the black man as God. Didn't he revive whole groups of people more than any of us? Right? Did he do not more than any of us? Let's keep it real. In terms of bringing our people from where they were to even where they're at today, would you take that away from them? Come on, be fair. Even if you don't agree with everything he said, but don't tell me it's not a stage in our development, and he did an excellent job. He did. The fact that his people now can even have this conversation with us, he deserves credit for that. You can't take that away, right? He did an excellent work. So I wouldn't have a problem with that. That doesn't mean he's Sheikh al-Islam. He did great work. You cannot take. I wish we do even half of what he's done. I wish we could do it with our level of knowledge, but it's difficult. We can't. We are not able to do right now what he's done, even with all our knowledge. So that is something special there. We can't take that away, right? We cannot. Mujtahid imams after the four imams. There are mujtahid imams after the four imams, but their methodology usually agrees with that of the four imams, so they don't stand out. So yes to both questions. In my view, some may disagree, but I don't know if he's a mujaddid or not. That's Allah's business, right? I'm just saying, if you're asking me signs of tajdeed, did he do that? Of course, in my opinion. Now, if you want to be overcritical, you can do that with anybody. You want to make him a deviant and all that. You could do that with anybody. But I think if you be fair, that is always a possibility. No doubt about it. Just my opinion, but like I said, it's my opinion. It doesn't make it a fact. Because to say someone was the mujaddid, you're speaking on Allah's behalf, not ours. Allah knows who's the mujaddid, not me and you. We may just say these things we may think, and we believe he's the mujaddid, but Allah knows that. I don't know. I did answer your other question, didn't I? Are there mujtahids after the four imams? Isn't that what you asked me? Did I miss another question? Where's the other one? I thought it was two questions in one. Oh, this one. The discussion of doing something to establish all that you speak about is good, but what plan do we follow? We're doing it. We're doing it. Let me tell you the answer to this. Farouk, are you still there? Or you checked out on us? I went all because this is the second time I get about third or fourth time people ask the same question. And I answered it multiple times. Right? I believe, so clarify this and share it. We're not going to have one leader for all of us. I think we're past that stage. I think we're going to have multiple leaders who collectively work together. That's where I think we're at. This is my own opinion. So that's one stage, right? We're going to have multiple leaders in different localities, and those leaders need to work together, and collectively we move forward. Is this part clear? That's the first layer. The idea there's going to be one big leader and we all follow him, I don't see it at all. I don't see it. And I'm going to be honest with you, and you can take this to the bank. I don't see anybody among us that I would give my community to follow. I wouldn't do it. Not a one. I don't see it. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I said I don't see it. Right? With all the potential leaders that we have, right? I see areas that, nah, we got to fix that first, right? Right? And a lot of that relates to our understanding of the deen. Because I would never turn our community over, or my students or people that listen to me or influenced by me, to someone who is not 100% unapologetically Sunni. You heard what I said? Put that up. 100% unapologetically Sunni. I would never turn my community or anyone I advise to follow somebody like that. Can we put that up? Because that's important. To me, that's more important than anything else we're talking about. So you might be a great leader, you might be a great speaker, you might been down, but if you are not 100% unapologetically Sunni, yo, bro, we got a problem right here. I would not do it. That doesn't mean I won't listen to you in other stuff. Other matters, you might do financial matters, you might do community building, you might do all that stuff. But if you don't fit that criteria, and that's very strict, nah, we got to go somewhere else when it comes to that. So I can't follow you. And as complete following. right? I can't do it, right? So that's a standard for me. So if we don't meet that one, we hit. That's not all. I'm just saying that's a core. You know, not say something's a deal breaker. That's a deal breaker right there. That's a deal breaker. And that's vast. That's not narrow as you think. That's a vast scope to deal with. And when we can't even get that with that vastness, that means we got a problem, right? Uh, so for me, that's a deal breaker. So that means since we don't see that, then we have to work collectively with strengths and weaknesses, right? And I don't have a problem with that. I believe that's what we have to do, right? And then when we come together, so that's what you see in the Black Imams Roundtable, what we're trying to do. We come together and then we cooperate with one another and we share our strengths and weaknesses to strengthen ourselves. So I'm weak here. Are you strong here? Okay, you pick that up. You weak here. I'm strong here. I'll pick that up. And then collectively, we move forward, right? That's how I believe this is going to work. And then from among them, they may select an emir who just, if we differ, he settles it. If we differ, right? But in generally, it's a group of us working together. The second level is the people, right? The second level is the people, which is the hardest level, I believe. Willing to follow and listen and sacrifice. Put that up. The second level, I believe, is the people willing to follow, sacrifice, and work. Follow, number one, when those leaders tell you to do something, you listen. And you're willing to sacrifice. And then work. That's the hardest. I think that is harder than getting the leaders together. That's my personal view from experience. Because we've become a people to do what we want. We don't want to listen to nobody. No one can tell you what to do. That's a problem. Right? 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 Then the third level is once we have all that, to begin to create an economic base for the development of our community. That's the third level. I agree, Abu Rayyan, but the leaders I'm talking about, don't nobody in the community outwork them. Right? You said leaders should not ask people to do something he hasn't done or is willing to do. But the leaders I'm talking about, ain't nobody in the community outwork them. The leaders that I'm talking about, no one in the community outworks them. They are workers. They sacrifice. They are workers and they sacrifice with everything they got. The leaders I'm talking about. So I agree with you 100%. Those leaders have to be the foremost in that. And they are. They are. And all you got to do is go on the ground and live with them, right? You ask anyone from Pittsburgh the work of Imam Naim. You ask anyone from Camden the work of Imam Fahim. You ask anyone from Detroit the work of Sheikh Abdul Karim Yahya, right? You ask any of them, the ones on the ground, the sacrifices those brothers make. And you'll see what I'm talking about. They're never asking you to do something they don't do. That will never be said. In fact, they're asking you to just do a portion of what they do. There's a difference. These are leaders. I don't take that away from them. They live as they talk, right? Because they're serious about it, right? The third level is the financial thing. Right? But to me, if you don't have the other two, you'll never get number three. No one's going to give you money if they don't listen and follow and believe in you and willing to sacrifice. You forget about it. They're not going to do it. You can want them to do it all they want. But until they have that leader that's going to really be about it and they see it, and then they themselves are willing to follow and sacrifice and work, you can forget about the money part. It's not going to happen. Because people love their money more than they love themselves in general. People love their money more than they love themselves, unfortunately. So that takes time, right? And that's what we're trying to do in a slow process. Level 1, level 2, and level 3. Then, once you get level 3, then you can map out in a more detailed way the other things. But until you get 1 and 2 taken care of, I don't even see 3. But I tell you what we are doing on this platform, we're doing a great job at 1 and 2, and we're working consistently on level 3. We're doing it. And may Allah reward all of us for all of our efforts in that, because we're all doing a part. We just have to improve and let time take its course, because it's not going to happen overnight. We have to constantly remind ourselves what we're doing, slowly build, and it'll be a natural progression. I see it. It's happening. I remember when we started to where we're at today. SubhanAllah, it's a lot of moving. It's good, but it ain't gonna happen overnight. So don't be in such a rush. You know, work consistently, daily, diligently, and you'll see it over time. Okay, inshallah. Don't forget tonight, Sheikh Walid Rifai will be on at 8 o'clock. I would suggest you catch these classes. They are very important in the educational process. Don't miss them, inshallah. Barakallahu fikum wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in bisir asrar al-Fatiha. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.